Hey, this is Jim McDonald. Welcome to episode 244 of the PowerCast. It's a little bit shorter episode due to my schedule, but I had the chance a couple weeks ago to talk to Phil Stevens at the Reebok Record Breakers meet. He's somebody that Mark and I have known for a long time and had really wanted to have on the show. He's somebody that's been involved with the fitness industry for a long time. He has a background in art. He has been on the Fitness Radio podcast for a good 10 years now, which is a long time for a fitness podcast. So that might be the longest running fitness podcast. Somebody that we, sort of looked to when we were getting started. And he has a gym in Kansas that he talks about how, what his methodology was in terms of building up that gym and how he coaches. It's a very interesting conversation for a step, especially for a short show. We'll be back on Friday with JP Price. Please like and share this episode. We'll see you then.
Support for this episode of the PowerCast comes from Precision Nutrition, home of the world's top nutrition coaches. Head over to get.pn/PowerCast for a free nutrition course, especially for PowerCast listeners, focusing on the role of carbs. That's get.pn/PowerCast. Reebok.com, home of the legacy lifting shoe, the official shoe of the PowerCast at Reebok.com. 8Man Strong apparel for people who lift heavy weights at 8manstrong.com. Compex Muscle Stim products at CompexUSA.com. Use the code PowerCast for an additional 28% off all but the lowest price model. HowMuchYouBench.net. Use the code PowerCast for 15% off slingshots and free shipping on orders over $100. And Bodybuilding.com, the world's largest fitness website and supplement store. Bodybuilding.com has free plans for every level. Visit bodybuilding.com today to become your best self. Mark Bill's PowerCast is also sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps weightlifters get special life insurance rates. They are also the official life insurance partner of USA Weightlifting. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/PowerCast or mention the promo code PowerCast when you talk to a Health IQ agent.
Recorded live in West Sacramento, California, this is Mark Bell's PowerCast. Standing just to the left of Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
So, we are at the Reebok Record Breakers meet. This is day 2, and we're with Phil Stevens, who a lot of you should probably know, but maybe don't. Phil goes back in the industry back to the early T-Nation days, right?
Yeah. That's where I met kind of everybody I know. Mark and Jim and all those guys. Jesse.
Yeah. Jess was on that forum back, and that's how I actually met Jesse, and Jesse is how I met Mark.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
That was back when Mark was a small and aspiring wrestler.
Exactly.
Before Elite Fitness even.
Yeah.
So,
before he was even fat.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that in the first place? How did you get involved with T-Nation?
Oh, God. I lucked into that one. Basically, I was going to grad school for art.
Uh-huh.
And I got really attracted to fitness. And who turned me on to T-Nation was John Berardi.
Okay.
I was emailing back and forth with him. So I started frequenting T-Nation a lot.
Uh-huh.
And then I got a job offer from them.
Uh-huh.
So then I worked for them for numerous years. And then I really started to meet everybody through that because it was, okay, we're going to seminar, going to this, going to that. And like I said, I kind of lucked into the industry back that way because I was spending all my time. I was going for a graduate degree, but I was spending 90% of my time learning on training and nutrition. So, and just kind of.
So you were kind of going more than one direction at a time there.
Yeah, and I mean, I like I tell everybody now, I mean, my art degree actually helped me. A lot of the ways you think is parallel to sports and things like that. But yeah, I mean, and then it's just been all just grinding, from then. And it's just knowing. I was lucky in the fact that basically everything I owned fit in a truck.
Uh-huh.
So I picked up and I left. If I wanted to learn from somebody, I picked up and went there. And I'd live there.
So who did you go and meet like that?
God, the first place I went was I moved over to Thailand for a year.
Yeah,
I heard training center.
I remember you telling me you were in.
And I met a powerlifter over there, Calvin Neff, who used to lift with Louis.
Okay.
Back before the Equip days even.
Oh, wow.
I trained under him. Then we trained at the Olympic Training Center. That's what got me into powerlifting.
Okay.
I was doing a little strongman stuff. Stayed there for a year, came back, went to Montana for a short stop, then got a job offer with Charles Staley.
Okay.
Staley Training Systems. Went there for 3 years, doing seminars all over the place. Up here, I came up here where we're at now to do a seminar. That's where I met my wife.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Quit the job with him, moved up here, then started working at Jesse's place with him. So that's kind of the short story of it. But
and you've been doing a podcast in this space for longer than we have.
Yeah, what are we on? We're on, I think we're on 10 years.
Holy crap, I did not realize
Never missed a week. Yeah, because I've been married to my wife. We were doing it a couple years before her. I've been married to my wife going on 8 years. So any idea what number episode you guys are on at this point? Do what?
Any idea what number episode you're on?
We're almost at 500.
Wow.
So one a week is what we always do.
Yeah. And you do that with Lonnie.
Dr. Lowry.
Yeah.
There were 4 of us when we started.
Uh-huh.
Me and Lonnie are the ones that stayed. And then we have pop-in co-host now with Mike T. Nelson and John Mike. But it's like me and Lonnie are the anchors type of thing. We've been at it from the start. And basically we started it out, our goal was to have it as like a public radio. We didn't want to be sponsored. We don't make money on it. Because we didn't want a sponsor to control our content. We wanted to give more information, educational, than anything else. We had control of our guests. We have control of what we say. And it's just it's our way of giving back. That's what it is, you know. And there wasn't enough of that. So when we started, there was not much.
Yeah.
You know?
We had no real sponsorship for the first couple of years, and things have changed since then because I think that 10 years ago, when sponsors got involved, they elicited more control, I guess, over content.
Yeah.
Particularly if you were involved with like powerlifting equipment sponsors and stuff like that. They wanted their athletes to be profiled. They wanted they wanted to talk about geared lifting. They wanted you to promote their equipment. And where we are now, we don't really have any of that per se.
Yes.
We don't. Our sponsors are all pretty hands off. They know.
And that's the way to do it. I mean, that's we've been approached, and we haven't been approached in a while. But it was like you'd be approached with, well, we want you to say you use this. When we don't use this.
Right.
And that's like I can't cross that bound.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't mind backing something that I use.
Right.
You know. Like I would have no problem. Like I use Mark's stuff. I use Gangster, but I like them.
Right.
You know. And things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, we just wanted to be as purely educational as we can. The money we bring in is all donation. And we use that to fund sometimes lifters, sometimes, and then Lonnie's side is education. He's got a PhD. So we use that to send kids to seminars and collegiate things and things like that.
So you use something like Patreon or just
we just hand them cash.
I mean, in terms of like...
Oh, donate, just PayPal.
Just PayPal?
Yeah, they just donate to PayPal. We do reoccurring stuff, so they can do $5 a month.
Okay.
We usually send them something. Like you'll get a mug and a T-shirt in the mail if you become a recurring sponsor.
That's awesome.
Stuff like that.
So in terms of topics, what do you think has changed over that period of time?
Oh God. It used to be. I don't see it as much. For 5 years there, everybody was getting super nitpicky about nutrition. That's eased off a bit. I think that people are starting to relax on that a bit, and they want to know more. Honestly, the biggest thing we do, the best shows we have, I think, are just when we have lifters, coaches on, and we just talk.
Yeah.
It's just shoot the shit. That's what people usually want to hear. If you can give them a couple little nuggets of knowledge, but I think people are starting to realize that a coach can't lay out his whole plan in 45 minutes.
No, you're not going to
everything.
You're not going to learn everything that a coach has to teach in the course of a 45-minute or an hour show or 2 hours or anything else. You know?
You get better at it too. I mean, when you start anything, you suck. We sucked. We were horrible when we started out. You get more relaxed, and that's part of it. You need to relax, have fun, like your guys' show. I mean, it's 80% content and 20% joking.
Right.
And you got to make it we've talked about it before. It has to be entertaining and informational.
Right.
Because you hear a lot of the podcasts, and it's all jokes, or it's all just dry information.
Right.
You have to strike that balance.
The all dry information was one of those things that I knew going in that we couldn't pull off.
Yeah.
In part because we're just not smart enough. I mean, we know what we know. And we can speak from our own experience, and
Yes.
you know, probably Mark has studied deeper than I have into a lot of different training methodologies. But the reality is that all we can really talk about is what we've experienced, what we've seen in people that we've worked with or had as teammates, or you know, in Mark's case, you know, people he sponsored, things like that. And anything beyond that, the science of it, the studies that are what few studies are done on anything, it's just not in our kitchen, you know.
Well, I would say most of it's not in everybody's kitchen.
Yeah.
It's not applicable.
Yeah.
You know, so it's part of it is getting these extremely smart people to dumb it down to something usable.
Right. Right. Yeah.
What is that? A great teacher knows how to make something complex very simple.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting them to give those nuggets that are usable, not those in-depth studies. Not everybody wants that. Most people don't want that.
Yeah.
So we'll point them to PubMed and stuff for that. We'll cite studies and say, go check it out, and then we try to dumb it down.
Mm-hmm. We're reaching the point now when we have guests on and they mention studies, they want, like, the audience wants us to link us to those studies, and I'm going to have to start actually getting that information from guests.
See, I'm lucky. Lonnie does that. He knows it already. I'm the dumb meathead on the show. That's always been my position, so it works for me.
That's great. So this was your comeback meet, so to speak. Don't call it a comeback, but a comeback meet.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is, well, I powerlifted for years. I was ran over at the age of 7. It's kind of like me and Wenning were talking about this. We parallel each other a lot. He was hit by a car. I got ran over by a power and light truck when I was 7 years old. Broke my pelvic in 16 places and severed my femoral artery. They had to replace it.
Oh my God.
So I was kind of set behind right there from the start, but got into powerlifting. One of the guys here that trained at Jesse's gym is like, "Man, you look great. You look better than you ever did," because I was a very narrow stance squatter with my hip before. But anyways, I pulled 780 no belt. I used to squat, and the highest I squatted before my hip replacement was 605. That was shortly before my hip replacement. Now I went and got a hip replacement. I was rehabbing back for that, trying to do a comeback, training myself to be on 2 legs again. Hit 635 in the deadlift in the gym. Was going to go 645, so I put 645 on. It made it to my knees, and everything shifted onto one leg. 645 apparently is too much for one leg.
Potentially,
Hamstring separated from the hip. So it curled up down here under my knee. Had to have that fixed. And then my plan was to retire. I tried that for about a year and a half and couldn't do it. I just wasn't, I'm not done with the sport. I was lacking something in my life. The coaching and stuff wasn't giving me. So about 9 months ago, I guess, decided to shoot back for it. I did a small meet just to test things out I weighed 230. Okay, it went okay. Now let's do a real meet. So I ate my way back up to 275.
That's prodigious.
In April I was 233, and now I'm 275.
Wow.
Came in with the goal of squatting 7, which is more than 100 pounds more than I ever did before the hip. Didn't get that, but I got 655. I screwed up out there and forgot to pull my singlet up, which kind of threw me off, so I had to back up off the platform, put my singlet on, come back again. Missed that. It was there. I'll get it again. My shoulder, I busted at one of Mark's meets up at the old super training gym way back.
I remember
So
that.
it's give and take. People are like, what are you going to bench today? I was like, I don't know. It'll be somewhere between 300 and 420. I don't know. It depends on what my shoulder does. So I was feeling good yesterday. I went 315. I went 355. And then went 405. And it wasn't going to work that day, so I had him take the 405. And then I pulled 705. So
well, that's awesome.
On a fake hip. So yeah, it was a good day.
And you're 40?
I'm 40. 40 this year.
Awesome.
So
what was the hip replacement addressing? What was actually wrong with the hip
It was basically the last 6 years ago. I went and got it X-rayed and MRI'd, and I had no cartilage left.
Oh, okay.
So you could feel it grind. They told me to hold off as long as you can. Two things brought that on. It was to the point that it was painful in daily life every day. My wife was pregnant. So basically within 3 weeks of each other, we had the baby and my hip replacement because my deductible was already covered. so yeah, we took all that in 1 year.
Yeah.
I maybe could have put it off another year, but I mean, I was popping Vicodin every day to get by.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
And that's a hard way to live.
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing was, I mean, literally a week after hip replacement, I needed no painkillers.
That's amazing.
I mean, it was that fast. And they have you walking. I was walking that day. I was out of the hospital the next day. I was doing light squats and deadlifting within like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So,
and the issue with waiting isn't it usually that because they anticipate that at some other point in your life you may have to have it done again? Yes, and that's what it is.
Basically, what I have is I talked to Ed before I got mine done to see which one he used.
Right.
So then I talked to my physician about getting that one because I figure Ed knows a thing or two.
Yeah. And
basically it's a 25-year hip, but he's telling me that my lifestyle will probably get 15 out of it.
Okay.
So basically when I'm 53, 54, I'll need another one.
Uh-huh.
So the only thing I can't do is he told me I can only run if I'm in a building that's on fire.
Or there's an ice cream truck.
Yeah. So, but he's loaded. He's fine with loading it. It's
great.
the pounding that'll tear it up.
That actually makes sense. You don't really think about that because when you're under load with a squat, it's not like the weight is going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not percussive. It's just an axial load, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a polymer cup.
Uh-huh.
So it's some kind of new DuPont, and it's tough. But I mean, you pound on that too much, and
eventually it's gonna need to be
get loose.
And 15 years even, they may have an even better thing. Because 15 years ago, what was available is nothing like what's available now.
Exactly. And the problem is, I think, they can only do so many. I mean, I think you can only get 2. But by the time I'm 55, the next one's going to last till I'm at least 70. It's like, I'm done at that point.
So what do you do? What do you do? What is your job? What is your profession at this point in time?
Basically, I do 2 things. I own a gym, so I'm a coach. I coach people, a lot of people where I'm at in Kansas, and then I coach people across the country in Olympic weightlifting, a lot of powerlifting, of course. And then as well, I help people in the fitness industry with anything they need as far as productions, things like that. So, I mean.
So, like apparel and.
Yeah. So I do a lot of that. And that's, like, I don't talk about this. It's one of those things where I just don't talk about it much. The people that need to know it, know it. And I'm okay with that. So,
that makes sense. Well, as long as you've got as much work as you want to do, then you really need to. And it's very that part of this industry is very word of mouth anyway.
And I don't want to work with everybody.
Yeah.
I work with people I know.
Yeah.
And that are friends.
Yeah.
And that can be hard sometimes, but you have to separate business and friends at some points, but it's good too.
Yeah.
You trust each other, and I know they're not going to screw me. I'm not going to screw them. Let's all kick ass together.
But just because the industry is the way it is, and we do all end up working with friends to a certain degree, like, what do you have any tips for the best ways to accomplish that?
To work with?
Yeah, just the business versus friendship. Are you talking about contracts that are specific?
I think contracts. I think it's part of business, but I think you should do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to. You get contracts. I mean, it's better off. Everybody just feels better about it, and it has nothing to do with being friendly. There's a lot of people, we're friends, we don't need a contract. Bullshit. It's business still.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, somebody ends up hurt. It's better to just let's lay it out, and let's agree on it, and move on, and then we never have to talk about it again.
Yeah, I think that the hard feelings that can develop are, it's bad for the industry, to be honest. And you see it so much anyway.
Yeah.
Not so much in the powerlifting world, but the general fitness world. There's, alliances that fall together and fall apart, and there's drama on social media and all that stuff. And, nobody really needs that.
No. And it's, honestly, I mean, our industry, I'm sure I can only speak from the industry we're in.
Yeah.
But over the years, there's been a lot of backstabbing and crap like that. And it's better to just lay it out there. And, because I don't want any of that. I don't want any hard feelings ever. I mean, and that's the people I deal with. It's like my job is to, I never contractually bind them to say, you have to work with me or you're screwed. It's, okay, we'll sign a contract. And if I don't make you happy, it's my job to keep you happy.
Right.
You know, if I'm not, I'm screwing up. And if you don't feel I'm doing a good enough job, you can go elsewhere. And that's the way I like to do business, because I mean, I'm gonna bust my ass to do well. You know, and if I'm not, you should be able to leave. And I run my gym the same way. I have 0 contracts.
Okay.
I don't believe in them. If I'm not doing my job as a coach, you should be able to go down the road.
Yeah.
You know,
very free market approach.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're not happy, go. You know, but I'm gonna do everything I can to make you happy.
And, do people find your gym through word of mouth, or?
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, we're kind of there's a lot of people that don't know about us, and I'm good with that. If you don't know about it, you probably shouldn't. Type of place. So yeah, it's all mainly athletes.
And so you work individually with all the members?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
So pretty much all the members get programmed towards their specific goals. Most everybody competes. I only work with a few people that don't. I have some really obese people that I help out. But most of it's powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, Highland Games, and then a lot of high school and collegiate sports. We've got the gym like this downstairs. So basically I have a 60,000 square foot building.
Okay.
It's split into 4 pieces. So there's 15,000 square foot sections. And one of them is gym. The one above that's batting cages, field turf, stuff like that for the athletes. So we got a place for them to sprint in the winter and things like that. But yeah, that's my passion. And I'm to the point, like I did the coach thing, the trainer thing, I guess is what you'd say. Where it's like you need to hoorah your people and you got this, come on, get in. I don't deal with that anymore. I only deal with people that want to be there. If you don't, I'm not your cheerleader. You're your own cheerleader. I'm going to lead you. You know? But if somebody's like, I don't feel like working today, well, don't then. You know, it's not my job to.
Right.
You need to come in here ready to go.
Yeah.
You know?
You're going to pay me regardless.
Yeah. So I don't care if you don't want to work. If you don't want to work, go home because I don't need to mess with you.
Yeah.
You know, come in here ready to go. So
yeah, that makes sense to me.
But.
Mark Bell's PowerCast is sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps weightlifters get special life insurance rates. They're also the official life insurance partner of USA Weightlifting. To see if you qualify, go to healthiq.com/PowerCast today. So what makes Health IQ so unique? They use science and data to secure lower rates on life insurance for weightlifters and strength trainers. Historically, you get penalized by life insurance companies for BMI, family history, and other attributes, but you don't get rewarded when you live a health-conscious lifestyle. 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance, which is crazy. That's actually a lot.
I wish you could get insurance on like your pecs and stuff. You know, like I blew out my pec like 3 times. So, can we do that?
What I'd like,
will they have stuff like that?
What I'd like to have had when I was competing was lift insurance. That's just one letter off.
What about deadlift insurance?
Deadlift insurance. I could have used some of that. You really need that because, you know, going into a deadlift in a meet, you're beat, right? You're tired. You need all of the pre-workout stimulants you can possibly get.
And it kills you.
And it kills you. Absolutely. So to see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/PowerCast or mention the promo code PowerCast when you talk to a Health IQ agent. You have any words of wisdom for people who would like to be in that kind of situation as a gym owner who works with a select clientele?
Yeah, I'd say, like me and Jim Windler talk a lot about this. He jokes that I probably have the only strength-based gym that turns a profit. Purely strength-based gym. I think the biggest part of that, and he was a big help in where I'm at now as far as the gym, in that we were looking for a space right when we moved. So we moved from up here to Kansas just to get away, get out of the fast life. And we were looking for spaces. He's like, dude, just open it in your garage. He said the people you want will go where you are. You don't need to find a space, you know. So we started there. We started in a 2-car garage. Literally, I had a power rack, 1 platform, and a bench. And then it got to the point where I was running 43 people out of a 2-car garage.
Wow.
And then we moved up. You know, so I think the biggest mistake people make is they start too big. And I see that in the town all the time. I've bought out like 5 gyms. they shut down and we go buy all their stuff at garage sale.
So people blow a big wad of money feeling like they have to have everything perfect.
They think it's about the equipment and not the coaching.
Yeah.
Like I could accomplish today what I do now with a power rack, one bench, and a platform. You can get 99% of the stuff done with that if you know what the hell you're doing. Now I got all kinds of neat toys and shit. They're awesome and they help, but they're not needed. They start out too big. They have this huge bill.
Yeah.
And I need 100 members to stay open. I needed 2 to turn a profit. You know.
That's amazing.
So I mean, we started off profitable on day one, and that's most people screw up with that, and they think it's less about their knowledge than it is about. They think it's the toys that bring people in, and that's one thing that I talked about from the start. Like I never called myself a coach until somebody paid me and called me a coach.
Yeah.
And that's lacking today. You know, everybody takes a weekend seminar and I'm Coach George.
Yeah.
I didn't call myself that until somebody called me up and said, we want to hire you as a coach.
Yeah.
And that was after I'd been doing it for 15 years or 10 years, you know.
I think that people don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
And like I work with my training partner. I sort of coach him. He is the one person I've ever tried to actually coach.
Yeah.
People will call me coach because they don't know what else to say.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And it's, you know, it's like I'm uncomfortable with that because I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not. So you mentioned Wendler. Like outside of Wendler, what other influences on your training style?
Definitely Jesse and Mark.
Yeah.
From my time up here, that was huge as far as the powerlifting goes. God, I've been around so many people. I spent a lot of time with Mark Ripto. I don't agree with Mark on a lot of his things, but I agree with him on a lot of his things. Mark Ripto's very Mark Ripto. And I think people get thrown off by him because of that. He's an old Texas boy. He's smart, though. I mean, I think my only issue is, you know, Mark gets this is the one way. I'm problematic with that aspect of it.
I think that I don't know Mark, but I will say this, that a lot of people want to be told one thing.
Yeah.
And they don't want any deviation from that because it's confusing.
Yes.
And it causes them to question everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So like those people need that kind of coach, maybe.
Yeah, and I think like his programming, there's people that love starting strength, there's people that hate it. I think it's good for what it is. It's for starting you out.
Yeah.
Eventually you will need to move forward.
Yeah.
You know?
And the hope is that when they start training, that at the beginning they're taking the best information they can find and trying to apply it. And as they gain experience and reps in whatever sport, they learn what works for them.
Yes.
And then they begin to be able to program for themselves. They may not be able to really coach themselves, but they should have a good idea of what their own programming is over time.
And that's the thing that's problematic, and that's the hard part about coaching. It's that everybody walks through my door. Basically, I start them off the same because that's my way of learning who they are.
Right.
And then it has to get individualized. You know, we'll all squat together. We're all squatting 10 sets of 3 today. But then we all split off and do what we need to do to address our own individual weaknesses.
Right.
You know, and things like that. Or Johnny's conditioning shit, so he's going to go out and pull the sled for 45 minutes. You know, whatever. And Becky doesn't need to do that. You know, so it's figuring that out, and that just takes time. And even coaching cues. You know, what I tell one girl may not work on the other girl, even though I'm trying to get the same thing, something else works.
Yeah.
And that's all built over decades. The problem is nobody wants to give decades anymore. Like people ask me how I got into the industry and how I learned what I learned, and I took that route that nobody's really willing to now. And it was literally driving and flying around the country for like 15 years and learning from whoever I can.
Yeah.
You know?
I think everybody's timeline is so shortened up right now that
they want everything yesterday.
Yeah. And they're looking for success and profitability and all that stuff really early. And the crazy thing about social media now is that some people do get that.
Yes.
And I think it sets a weird example for the people who are not lucky, talented, athletically gifted or genetically gifted or whatever to get into that position.
But even, I mean, the people I see still making it, like really making it and doing well.
Yeah.
Mark, Jim, that's been 15 years in the making.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't see,
Yeah.
I mean, Mark is huge now, but he was busting his ass 15 years ago.
Yeah.
To do that, and people forget that, and they're like, "Oh, he's a success overnight." No bullshit.
Every overnight success that's like real sustainable success has put at least 10 years into something.
Exactly. And people don't see that. They never see what was behind that. So.
And I know you were instrumental in getting Wendler to come in out of his hermit hole and see everyone at the Arnold this year, which is great. I just love spending time with Jim when I can do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Jim is, like, we have, and his wife, Juliet, who I talk to almost daily. Our family values parallel each other a lot. He's very much a family guy, into his kids. And the funny thing about him is everybody's like sees death metal Jim Wendler, and you pull up in his house and his neighborhood's like the Brady Bunch. It's where you wouldn't expect him to be, but it's great. I mean, but then you walk inside and he's got, me and my kid are watching death metal on the TV. This is amazing. So, no, I'm gonna try and get him out again this year. That's one thing. Awesome. They wanted me to come out every year I'll go if you go. So.
Well, I think that what I'm hearing is that the West Side documentary is supposed to premiere during the Arnold.
Good.
So
we met him last year. When we saw you,
Michael. Yeah, so he should definitely come out for that. That's kind of the major reason I'm going this year. I actually thought about skipping, but I think I'm definitely going to go.
Yeah.
Well,
I think everybody's looking forward to that. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably going to be, if it hits the way I think it's going to, is be kind of yet another transformation of the sport. I think that CrossFit caused kind of one big transformation of powerlifting, and because we would not be at a meet this large. I mean, when we used to host the meets, they were big, but we thought they were big, but they weren't like this big.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's I was talking to Kelly about that, and part of it's the women in the sport now too.
Yeah.
When you go to a big meet, there'd be 20 people watching. Yeah. Besides the lifters, and that's it. And part of that is the only people that want to watch big fat guys lift heavyweight are other big fat guys.
Right.
Other people want to watch these women.
Yeah. Exactly. Because they can maybe identify a little bit more or whatever. I think I remember things starting to think that things were changing at the point that we did that first backyard meet. Mm-hmm. And big raw meet, and I was running the live stream, and there's like a couple thousand people watching. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay. Like it's actually, these are things that are garnering legitimate attention, and that was really before the social media even hit. But
there's a resurgence of raw lifting too. It's been huge. I think it helps the sport. I have nothing against equipped lifting, but I think the raw lifting is more attainable to the average person.
Yeah, I think so too.
They can walk in the gym and train it.
Yeah, and that's
by themselves.
That's something like I wouldn't have gotten into when I got into powerlifting. I wouldn't have gotten into raw because it wasn't the thing that was going on at the time. And these days I think it's harder to get into equipped lifting because you really have to have a crew.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
You have to have 3, 4, 5 people at least. Yeah. To be able to do it, because you're getting in and out of equipment, and then you're lifting weights that you need a group of spotters for.
Yeah, for every lift.
Yeah, it's just not safe otherwise. Yeah. So, anyway, well, thank you very much for taking the time out of.
It's been great seeing you.
You're handling lifters today, right?
Yeah. I got like 2 today. I had 4 or 5 yesterday, including me. So, but we're doing good.
How is that to lift and handle at the same time?
I don't handle much the day I'm lifting, and they know I won't. So I just warn them. If I'm lifting, I'm concentrating about me. I'll come up there and help call your numbers, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to wrap your knees. I'm not going to.
The girls today, I'll just take care of them.
Yeah.
So.
I think I just hit my button when I moved it. I'm okay. So. All right. Well, thank you very much. How can people find you? If you want.
How do people find me? Oh God. Facebook, Philip Stevens. Instagram, what is it? Philly One Ass. Because basically I have one butt cheek that's half the size of the other because of my hip. IronRadio.org is the podcast.
Okay. And you guys are on iTunes.
We're on iTunes and all that. There's a YouTube channel now. Okay. There's just a picture up. We don't do fancy videos like this. But we put it on there just because it's easy for people to get. That's about it.
Okay, guys, check out Iron Radio, and later.
Thank you.
Hope everybody liked our brief conversation with Phil. A lot of information in a short period of time. Shout out to all of our sponsors: 8-Man Apparel at 8manstrong.com, bodybuilding.com for all your supplement needs, Compex USA for cutting-edge muscle stim machines. Get an additional 28% off when you use the code PowerCast on all but the lowest price model, and that's 28% off the lowest price available at the time. Reebok.com, home of the Legacy Lifter, the official shoe of the PowerCast. Increase your bench at howmuchyoubench.net. Get 15% off slingshots with the code PowerCast. Power, the only strength magazine available in both digital and print at thepowermagazine.com. Precision Nutrition, get the free course especially for our listeners at get.pn/PowerCast. That's get.pn/PowerCast. And Health IQ, go to healthiq.com/PowerCast and see if you qualify for outstanding rates on life insurance. I am at the Jim McD on all the social medias. Follow the show on Instagram. We are Mark Bell's PowerCast. We're also the PowerCast on Facebook if you look for us there.